Good morning, crafters. So we're going to get after working on hinge 2, and so this is page 3 and page 4. So with this, we're going to talk about how we've put all of this together, and then we're going to go on to this next page here. And we'll do most of it, but I'm not going to do any of the additional decorating because that's really, some of that can be left up to what you would like to do. I also plan on going through this page with you and talking about how we're going to put that together. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the little doodads or buttons. So I was working on a couple of things previously, and I have gotten a new puncher, so I'm going to be using these smaller doodads. I wanted to try to make them even a little smaller this time and see if that works. And these are made with a 5/8 inch punch with a half inch punch. So the navy blue is the 5/8, and then the little one is the 1/2 inch punch. And then what I'll end up doing is covering them with glossy accents, and to make it look a little bit more shiny or covered. So I've gotten some of those ready, and I'm going to put those together, and then we will I'll put the glossy accents on the top of them and then leave them to dry overnight. And I'll show you how I plan on putting those together with my in my book on the ribbons. So let's go ahead and let's get started on this. Would be officially page 3. All right. So grab one of your pages that you've got, because we're going to be using that and making sure that it's facing the right way. I like to make sure these are in back. This is the hinge, or where it went together. I put those on the back, and so I like to start with that being on the front. And what we're going to start doing is putting the mats on the front of this, and or the other side is we can even do some of our paper covering before we put some of the mats down too. So we're going to wait to do this part though until we've got our mats taken care of. So alrighty. See my clothespin? I had some other things on there, and then they were all sticking together too much. So what we're going to start with is our flips and flaps. And the flips and flaps on here, did I pick up an extra one? I might have. Apologize. I was trying to get everything ready. So we have 3 flaps on here. And on this 3 flaps, what we're going to do is cutting apart. We're going to cut 3 that are 6 by 12, and then we're going to score at 1/2 inch and then score at 6.5 inches. And then that'll take us to the next part of this. So let's go ahead and let's score all of these. I put my things away, so I'm having a hard time finding them. So we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Oh, I probably should have done it this way. And then score at 6.5 inches. All right. So our next one at 1/2 inch and at 6.5. And 1/2 inch and 6.5. Alrighty. once we've got that done, then we can go ahead and burnish all of our scores. That's good. And really, something that's important is that the burnishing of these, the scores, it's important to take a look at that, so and really burnish them, because that'll help the pages lay flat. Part of the reason why we did a shorter score on this one, or a shorter piece, this is going to be 6 inches here and really 5.5 inches here, is so that on the underside that it fits or moves much more easily on these. And what we're going to do as well is I'm going to also miter those edges on each one of these. And notice I always go to the edge of my paper and go in so I don't cut where I don't want to cut to be. All right, so let's do the other two. Now you can also choose to, if you have a lot of extra paper, you've bought extra pieces, what you can do is, instead of matting these with cream paper or white or whatever you're matting it with, you can mat it with the pattern paper. I just am using the matting so that I can extend the life of my pack of paper, because this is a very large album, so I did not want to use it so that for areas that were quite in, you know, were too much inside of another area. So all right. Okay. So wondering how everybody's doing these days with staying indoors. I know some of us are starting to go a little bit nuts. I know I am a little bit. Then we're going to take some pattern paper for the top of our mats, and so we can get that done and matted. Did I mark these on the... No, so those mats, depending upon, because the top is actually going to be, this is a 6x6 page, so I think for sure that I did 5 7/8 by 5 7/8, but let's just check my measurements here. Might have to just trim that off a little bit. Yes, 5 7/8, but the way this is looking on this piece, I might just trim this a little bit off on each edge, just like 1/8 of an inch. Just a teeny amount so that we get a little bit more of the edge of the navy blue. Let's see what that looks like first. That looks a lot better. And so you can see it's just a teeny bit. I had all of these edged, but let me... Okay. All right, then we're going to go ahead and let's get this laid on here. Oops. And I used the other side because I had two other mats that were quite patterned. So I wanted to tone down some of that pattern a little bit. I like to take this so that I don't have too much pattern all in a row. Sometimes it works okay, but for the most part, you know, a little bit of pattern, then a little bit of solid works well. All right, so that's that mat down. And let's take this one, and this is one of the bottom flaps. And then I cut this one just so that, okay, I'm gonna take a little bit off of this as well. Must be just the paper itself. This is part of the signature page. I just cut out the part that I wanted to make sure I had on here, which was this area in here. Let's see. Actually, oops, I almost put that on the wrong way. That wouldn't have been good. Actually, I think I need to take at least another 1/8 of an inch off there. And that's why whenever I do the pages, I don't always stand exactly by the measurements because of the fact that it could be the way I cut it, the way I measured it. And I think that you could see that these papers were slightly longer than 12 inches as well. And that does happen. And I'll tell you, I'm not always good about cutting off that little extra bit. So that could be why our scoring was a little bit off. And I probably should have checked that. While I was cutting, when I saw the score was, okay, so this is coming from the bottom up. So just make sure that your flaps, you've got them set for the way that they'll face on the page. So don't just put your mat on there without thinking about the design that's on the paper, because this one is going to sit at the bottom like that. And actually, I think I used the wrong one. I think this was the one that I was going to be using. But oh well, it's not going to matter that much because I wanted to have this on my page. So my apologies. Look, I was trying to get so far ahead of myself. It still works. It's not something that something I can just laugh about because it just seems to happen more and more often. And I mean, for that matter, if you wanted to have a pattern paper going from the top down, you could also do this on the top as well. Actually, I wonder if I want to change that around. Maybe I will. And this goes in between. No, I think that that's just going to look too busy. Otherwise, I'm going to do that, even though I have the wrong piece on there, because this is what's going on top of here. And I want that to stand out a little bit more. It's all good. No one will ever know I made that mistake except for you and me. So this one is going to be the top. Boy, this is... I measured these to what it should have been, but each one of these needs to have a little bit come off. This side a little bit more than... Let's see where we're at. I think I need. All right, hopefully that's good. All right, that looks great on my little pieces here. I love this little trimmer for making those short little cuts. There we go. I didn't really use much of that apple paper because I felt like it was, I shouldn't say the apple paper, but I ended up using the other side of that paper a little bit more than that side of the signature page. All right. So then that goes down onto there. All right, then the next thing that we have to do is these pieces are going to be for our bottom of our page. So you're going to need to cut some cream pieces. Two that are 5 3/4 by 4 1/2. That's on the page. That's going to be underneath these. And then the other mats that I have here are 5 7/8 by 5 3/8. Now again, going back to this, I'm going to check all the fits on those, and you'll need 6 of those. And I said two of those, and then you'll need 3 that are 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. So I'm going to mat some of these before I put them down. So these two go on the page, and the 3 cream ones are the larger sized mats that will go on the back of here. All right, I am going to turn off the video. I see that these mats are a little bit too big, so I'm going to turn off the video. I'm going to do some cutting, and then I'll come back once I have that taken care of. I don't want to sit and have to cut all of these right now, so at least on screen. So I'll be back in a minute. We're back. So I went ahead and measured my mats and put my mats down inside all of these flaps, and I just left this last one to go. And what I ended up doing was cutting these so that they are just shy of 5 3/8, but they are 5 7/8, and they seem to fit better that way. So I always go for the bigger rather than the smaller, so that I can always trim those little pieces off, but I can't add back paper onto a larger piece. So I'm okay with cutting bits and pieces off as I go along, because just like us, the paper cuts are not necessarily perfect all the way around, and depends upon how you score. It depends upon a lot of different factors. So we want to just make sure that everything, that's why I always, what I say is called dry fit, what I'm laying down before I lay it down, so I can make any adjustments as I go. And doing that ahead of time has saved me many catastrophes as I've gone. So, all right. So we have these all covered. So the next step that we're going to do is we are going to take our page and making sure again that we have it the right direction, and There is no, I didn't really do any measuring. I just tried to get them in the center. Actually, let me just see, I'm gonna lay, because what I tried to do with these is to cover up what was underneath. So I think what I'm going to do is first lay this bottom, oh goodness. I just realized I forgot to do something. I forgot to put my magnets in. Oh my gosh. I feel like here I thought I was doing so well today. Not making any mistakes. Let me just get this down and let me think about how I'm going to, the magnet is not going to be that big of a deal because I do have that other card on the top. Or another alternative is we can also, at this point, do a ribbon closure. I could do something like that. All right. So we've got that one on. That's in there. Okay, so this will come down from here and this goes across here. And I have this that will come down to here. Actually, like this. So, with this coming down, oh actually this came down further. I don't really want to do a ribbon closure, so I think I am going to do, I think what I'm going to do is, so I apologize for that. What I had done on here is I had done a magnet on the back of this piece here, and then on the top of this piece, I matched that with that. But what I think I'm going to do to correct what I've done is I am going to take and put a magnet on the back of here, and I will put it on this part of the page, and then I will put a piece of ephemera over the top of that magnet, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to get the rest of these in, and then I will work on getting that magnet. And all I really need to do is cover the back of where I have this magnet, which I did with patterned paper. So we should be all good. All right, so I'm going to turn this just to make sure that I'm... The other thing is that if you didn't want to do a magnet, you could do a ribbon. We didn't put our paper down yet, so we could have done a ribbon. We could do like an embellished paper clip. We could always have done that. There's a lot of different things. It doesn't always have to be a magnet, and I just like magnets, so better than any type of closure. So do that. Then we'll get this page on. This will come down. I suppose it would work. So this all lays flat. this one, looking at it, was a little bit up. So these are going in, so then the paper will cover up our hinges of where these go. So this will be like that. This is our top page. And once we get the other paper underneath, that will make things a little bit easier. Oh, shoot. I'll have to get my eraser to get that mark off. So what we ended up doing then in the inside of this folio is this went down and this was down here, and we put paper on either side and a little piece in the middle. So I'm going to do that. I want to put these right in the center to so that they are completely covered or completely cover the hinges. All right. Well, we have a nice sunny day in Wisconsin. I hope that you have the sunshine as well. Just certainly makes for a much nicer day when that sun's out. And although I have to say I do like rainy days, they're one of my favorite days to just cuddle up on the couch or work on crafts. Whatever you enjoy. So I think that looks good. It's the only thing I dislike about using the light colored cardstock. I always feel like I'm going to get something on it. So let's line this up with each other. Let's see. Why does that look crooked? Did I lay the top one down crooked? All right, guys, sorry. Much better than score tape. There's no forgiveness with score tape. Once it's down, that baby is down. I think I was a little off up above, so I'm going to try to make that center even. So then I cut some strips for the sides. May have to cut these down. Oh, maybe not. Maybe this one just a little bit. Or maybe this works. I was a little off on that one, even though it didn't seem like I was, but I must have been. So I may have to just trim a wee bit off of that. But this one looks pretty good, so we'll leave that. This, again, I'm going to all right, so lengthwise these are 9 3/8, and this one is 1 3/4, And this one is shy of 1 3/4. Let me see. I thought this one was the smaller one, but no. So maybe this one would fit better over here. Yeah, I'm a little bit off on here. So I am going to take just a small trim on this side. Oh, shoot. That's the only thing that I don't like is that it's only 6 inches. Oh, actually, I want to go the other way. I am going to trim this, I think, a little bit crooked. See how that fits. There we go. That looks pretty good. Even though it's a little bit off, it's fine. I'm not going to fret over 1/16 of an inch. Once all the photos and everything get down on the page, no one will be the wiser except for you and I. All right, so let's get that down. I love this green paper as well. I know it's very simple, but the color of green, I guess that's what I like the best about it. There we go. All right, and this side looks good, just the way it is. Maybe a little bit off over there. Okay. So we are going to glue this down. And on the edge of this, I'd rather pull that in just a little bit more than on the edge over here, because this is going down into the hinge. So this probably won't even get noticed that it's not perfect. So, ooh. Got that a little close to that hinge. So that's that and that. So what we're going to do then is this is going to go down onto here, and we're probably going to put a magnet right in there. So let's get this down. Let me see, did I leave that? Okay, just checking so I don't make another mistake. So I'm going to leave this much unglued and measure that to the center. Maybe up just a little bit. There we go. So what I want to do is I want to get that magnet so that it is down so it is down further. And I have my magnets in here. Nope. That would be too easy. What the heck did I do with my magnets? Oh, goodness. Well, here we go. I'm going to use the smaller magnet, I think, because I don't think I have one of the bigger ones on my table, which I'm going to have to get. This is the hardest thing that I just dislike taking these out of the packages. They always are in there so tight. So go like that. But I'm going to use these. The smaller ones are probably better to use because of what I'm going to have to fiddle around with here to make that work. So probably right about there is probably going to be, not sure if you can see that. Ugh, for goodness sakes. Yeah, that's good. So as you can see on the back of the card, I'm putting just a little bit there, and rather than get stuck with my magnets here. So I want to get it down to this spot on the bottom of that where I can put a piece of ephemera or a piece of paper or something to cover that over. And we are covering the back of this. But I wanted to wait till we got this on before I cut out the additional paper. So this for me is 2 inches. Okay, come on, 2 inches by 2 by 4 1/4. So we're going to do a piece of paper 4 1/8 by 1 7/8. So we'll get that for the back. And what I did with that is I wanted to use a bit of the red backed paper. Actually, I don't, oh yeah, I might. So going into my scraps here. There we go. I'm going to use this. And so we're going to go, this is the way we want it to sit on the matting. So I want to cut this slightly less than 4 inches. You know what, I'm going to do this first. Yep, 1 7/8. So 1 7/8. So I save a bigger piece from that. And this is then going to be slightly less than 4. Ah. Look at this. Okay. So I thought I was doing it right. And I swear to God I measured that as 2. What did I cut? You guys tell me, what did I do wrong again? Oh my goodness. I didn't go right up. 2 1/4, so it's 2 1/8. There we go, another scrap. Sorry, 2 1/8. So 2 1/8. That will work. And okay, I'm going back to the way I like to measure by marking it. Who else has difficulty with their short-term memory? Mine is just terrible sometimes. I can remember things from years ago, but heaven help me to remember anything that is from right, that I just learned it. Okay, so this is going downwards. So when we lift this up, I want to have this to be right side up. So we'll do that. Let me ink the edges. All right, make sure that's right side up. I'm thinking I'm probably going to put something down at the bottom where the magnet is, so that it may be permanently down because it's not taking away that much. Because I may even do something going all the way up just to kind of fix what I've got there, and just look for putting a smaller picture or not. So there we go. So now we've got that. That'll hold that down good enough. As simple as this. It could be something, just a small little square like this, or the red on there. I'm just going to wait for right now. I want to wait and see what we come up with. All right, so the next thing that we need to do to finish this page off is to just do this middle piece. And so this is about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to do, we're going to do like 3/4 inch, just shy of that possibly. So I am going to grab a piece of our scrap paper. Let's see. And I am, I'm just going to measure this again with my pencil. I like doing it much better that way because for me, I just get a more accurate cut most of the time. I shouldn't say all the time. So I've got my pencil line right there, and I'm going to take and cut right inside because that should take off a little bit back from where I want it to be. And then I've got a pencil line right here, and I'm going to cut just to the inside of that pencil line again. And with doing that, I should have enough going back so I have a little bit of an edge there. Okay, let's see how well we did, or I did. All right, I think we're good. So I'm going to just run this along here real quick. We can put that down. A little bit of glue. Little bit of wiggling. And we're good. To get my Tombow eraser out and try to fix some of that. So this is good. The last thing that I did on this page, and I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, is I took from the, I'm not sure whether it's from the sticker sheet or I think it was a piece of ephemera. I know the top one was this piece, the Bloom with Grace, and the one underneath was Life is Sweet. But see, we can even do something like this to just cover that up. But I'm just going to wait till the end so that I can, because it's different than my first one, I want to make sure that, or even if we did something, I mean, something as simple as that, that you can just put down as a label, and it wouldn't get in the way of any photos or anything that you are doing. So there is always a good way to fix those little things. All right. Also, I wanted to say I did originally use this on one of my pages, but what I found is that these little edges kept getting stuck on the piece that I had put down. So I think if I used it again, I would put it to the very inside of the book, even though it's beautiful and you know, you want to show it off. It actually just didn't work very well because it was so finely cut that it actually caught on everything. I think I'm going to actually leave this here. I know I did not use that anywhere else in the book. So, and I'm going to glue this all the way down so that it's like a label on this page. All right. Is there an up or down? Centered. You've got that there. And then this piece, I took and just centered this on here. Oh my goodness, this is, I have to take apart this bottle and glue everything, or not glue, but put everything apart here. One of the things that I wanted to do, though, by centering it is try to keep it so that it was a little bit hidden from there so that it wasn't running into the other pages. So I wanted to make sure I had that hidden. So while it's centered, it may be just slightly to the inside. All right, so we've got that. And then I did take this piece and I ended up popping that up. And this time, I popped it up with foam squares. Oh, there, I threw them underneath. So I like to have a little bit of depth on that. And these are foam squares by Gina K. And I used the foam squares this time because I thought it would have been too hard to cover the cardstock. not cardstock, sorry, chipboard. Or cut the chipboard out to the same level. Actually, I want to pull that in just a little bit. All right. You know, these squares are awesome, but I always have a tough time getting the backing off of them, and they take, I don't know if you guys have any other good foam squares that you use. Not that these aren't good, they are. I just, and again, it could just be me, but Gina K, her products are awesome. And for those of you who may not know, Gina K lives in Milwaukee, which is, I live in Germantown, Wisconsin, and which is a suburb of Milwaukee. So I shouldn't say she lives in Milwaukee. She really lives in Greenfield. I think it's Greenfield. And she has a store down in Greenfield. Yes, it's got to be Greenfield. Oh, you know what? And I've taken a couple of classes there. One for sure. It was a colored pencil class, coloring with pencils. And I love coloring with pencils. I am not a colorist, though. I will tell you the truth. I am not. I like it, but I am not an artist. I can color in things, but you know, those of you that can draw and just have that sense of color and tone and all of that, I'm impressed. So, all right. Well, we've got this page 3 done, hinge 2, page 3, and we're going to go to the back of this page. And the back of this page is actually, we've got some different pieces cut apart for that. So I'm just going to get set up to get going on that. And because I got to dig out what I've got cut up, and I'll be back in just a minute. Hi again. Okay, so we are on page 4, and with page 4, it is going to be a door or gatefold type of door. So what we'll do is let's get the gatefolds down or the doors down, and then we can do our paper underneath. So I cut the doors on here. Let me just get my measurements. I'm sorry. I want to see, I keep a book of all the measurements and what I've done. Not a neat picture. What they are is, these are cut by 2 doors are cut at 9 3/8 by 5 1/4, and then score a 1/2 inch along the 9 3/8 side. So you're going to have 2 of those. And I'm going to put these down. I'm going to miter the edges on these. And basically what I did to cut these out is I cut them out by 9 3/8 by 5 inches, and then I just measured to see how closely I could get them so they matched in the middle. I tried to do my math on it, and I did pretty good. I didn't do that badly. But sometimes when doing those measurements, it's not always as accurate. So I'm going to make sure this page is the right way up. We'll get this on. everybody puts things on a little bit differently. Sometimes I need to look from the side, sometimes I need to look from the top. So just whatever works for you. And I'm putting this door as close to the edge as I possibly can get it without going over and without hindering anything else. It is a little off the page, so we may have to do some cutting of our paper just so that it doesn't ram up against the hinge of the door. And this one as well, I want to make sure that because it's on the edge, that I do bring it off just a 1/16 of an inch so that I'm not sitting right directly on the hinge. You want to give a little bit of room. So this one I'm actually going to put this down, and then I want to match up this door with the other door, so to see if we've got them in alignment with each other. Well, the top looks good. The bottom looks like it's a little bit different. Oh, there we go. I measured that out, but you know, once you put this all down, you might have to come back and you might have to cut a little bit off if you don't like how it's overlapping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this works. If it doesn't work, I may trim down some of that. And what I mean by whether it works or not is we have some pockets that we're going to put on the back of, not on the back, on the front. And the pocket is 5.5. You know what? I'm just going to measure it. So it is 5.5 by 4 3/4, and I'm sorry, 5 1/4 by 5.5. 5 1/4 by 5.5, and you'll need 2 of those. And then score, hold them, if this pocket is going on this side, and this pocket is going on this side. Oh, hold on. There we go. I did do that right. So this is how this is going to be going onto this page. And the reason why I have pencil marks, because we're going to cut from here to here to have an angled pocket on that page. So, but first, I think what I'm going to do is put this in, and I see, I don't know, maybe I will be okay. Nope, I need to take just a hair of this off. So that it doesn't, when I was making the folio, there was a couple times where I didn't take into consideration the folding of the doors, and my paper got in the way of that bending a little bit. Oh, let me fit this first. Yes, that's much better. So we've got plenty of easy movement on that. So I'll have to. All right. Just want to get enough glue down that it's stays, but not so much that it can be seen through the paper. And that looks pretty good. And this paper actually goes up and down. The reason why I was looking at it for the centerpiece, that was the correct way up. So everybody has their own preference too. You could do it either or. And so those are our pages there. And we did on the bottom of here, it was actually a sticker, and did a fussy cut on that. So I'm not going to do that right now because I'm not that good of a fussy cutter. I don't like to don't like to do it in front of people. But this is the sticker that I used. So I put this onto navy blue cardstock, and then I cut that out. And this back piece, I also took that out of there, and I backed that up with some foam tape. So I will show you that as we go along, show you what that looks like again. But basically, this part, both actually went down onto the navy blue cardstock, and then this one though actually was foam backed, so that we put that right at the bottom of this page so that we could tuck things underneath it. And I took the stick out of the top of this so that actually this could go, the pictures could still, like basically a tuck area. All right. So what we're going to do is let's get our pockets done, and then we'll go to matting everything that we need to mat. Again, let me make sure I have the right way. And I'm going to do the angled cuts. Yeah, I think we're fine here. Good, good, good. And all right, so what I did with these is I measured, this is going this way, so it's going to leave this pocket open, but it was 1 inch and 2 inches. So then what I just need to do in order to cut the angle properly so that they are the same, I'm going to just match up the endpoints of each of those marks and trim that piece of paper away. And let me take the other one. This is going to sit this way, 1 inch, 2 inches up from the bottom. And we'll match that up the best we can. Get our angled cut, and then we can just erase those pencil marks on there. It's going to be covered with our pattern paper, but truly those would probably show just by the edging of the paper. So let's go ahead and let's get our pockets down. I'm not putting, oh, the other thing, a 1/2 inch, and I mitered all the edges of those flaps on the pockets. And I'm going to put all these pages down, and then we will mat the rest of this because for these I have I didn't cover the whole page all the way down through the pocket. And part of it is saving paper, and part of it was the one that I really wanted to use. I couldn't, I didn't have enough. So I just ended up doing it that way. So we're going to have a little bit of a opening, because we have a mat that we're doing for the closure. And that looks good. Again, watching our edge along the hinge so that we don't get it too tight. Actually, now that I say that, the hinge is on this side, the other side. See, there we go. Just have to watch that. So this is a little bit off. I want to check something real quick to see if this will still work okay. This is our mat. So see, that won't work. I'm going to need to trim off one of these pages, just a small amount. So I am going to do it such that everything is together on there. And I need to trim off about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch. So let's pull out the big mama. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because I wanted to make sure I cut from the pocket, going down to make sure that I took it off from both at the same time. At least that was my reasoning behind it. All right, looks like I need to trim. You know, I probably don't. My scoring or placement. You know, it's amazing. I think that I am 100% accurate with placing my pages down. And I'm a little bit off, so I'm going to modify this more by my hinge edge than by the edge. Let's see if that'll work. Yes, I think we'll be good. It just matches up just perfect. So there we go. All right, so let's go from the inside out. And what I did with the inside pages is I ended up just matting these directly down with some beautiful paper. And dry fit that and make sure that fits. Oh yeah, because we cut a little bit of that off. Maybe I'm going to take just a smidge off that. That's why it was a little bit closer than I had originally planned. I think that'll be a little better. Again, I do this all based upon the measurements. So if my pocket is 9 3/8 by, I think it was 5.25, whatever. So I take 1/8 of an inch off all of that and to get the size for my paper. And that's kind of where I start, unless I'm doing everything from scratch. If I'm doing everything from scratch, then I usually use my pencil marks just because of how it can be placed on the page. It's not always a perfect science because we are not machines that get everything down perfectly. So you have to have a little bit of give and take when you're doing your cutting. And there are some crafters, and I've watched a few people that when they put their books together, they're almost like perfect when it comes to the matting and the measurements, and you know, I say more power to them. I think that that's awesome. It's just not the way that I craft. Oh, that paper is just beautiful. Love the colors and that. All right, let's just dry fit this one and see if we're all okay. I think we should be pretty good, except for I might take a smidge off the bottom at the top. And just to give us a little bit more of a room, but we didn't cut that side down, so I think that we're good to go with that side. All right, so dry fit this, match that up the top. I think we're good to go. Yes, we are. And I'm putting this all the way down because I actually am going to put a pocket on the bottom of this page, but for this piece I actually covered the whole thing. And yes, it's different than what I'm doing up front, but it's my book. I can do it the way I want to do it. Sometimes it just works better to do it that way. And sometimes I don't. So I sound like a grade schooler. It's mine and I can do whatever I want. Folds in well. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful expanse of color? Just beautiful. Okay, so what we're doing down on this part of the page is we're going to be putting a pocket that faces this way, and we're going to tuck in, or not tuck in, I apologize. I'm going to put this cut apart on the top of that pocket. Actually, I might even put that down. And the other side of this too, we could have put a pocket. We could have put a belly band on there. You know, you can really do a lot of different things that that you want to do on there. But sometimes I like just to have the paper showing because it's just so beautiful with the fruit and the florals. And man, oh man. Make sure I have enough on there. And again, with this folding, I just want to make sure that we have this, put this far enough away that we don't get it stuck in the middle. And it is then so I would take your cut apart, and when you measure for this little pocket, measure 1/8 of an inch larger than the cut apart that you're using. And so basically this little pocket for me was 4 by 3, and then just so it would be 4.5 by 3.5, so that you can score to make the hinges on the pocket. Or if you don't want a bigger pocket here, or something that has a little bit more room, you can just glue this flat down if that's what you'd like to do. But what I did with the pocket is I took and then I put one of the G45 tags into the pocket, and I'll cover that. What I'll do with that actually is I'll cover the front with pattern paper, and I may leave the back blank, or if I have extra pattern papers, I will cover the back maybe in the patterns and solids. I will do that, but that's going to go in there. All right, so let's finish off the top of these pages, and what we're going to do is on the top of the pages, what I had done was I put these down first, a border up top, because I had put cuts from this paper or the other one that is the fruity one on there, and I wanted to pull the fruit up towards the top as well as to the bottom. Oh, you know, I cut this page too, so let's just see. I'm going to have to trim just a sniblet off of this. Yep, that'll be good. So I'll put that one down. There we go. Vintage photo around the edges of all the paper. I tried to do it on almost all the paper. Once in a while the cut might be too small that I don't do the edging with vintage photo, but pretty much all of the edges are with vintage photo. And I'm going to do this side. I had somebody else who had started a tutorial on this book, and boy, she's already done with the whole thing. She probably watched the walkthrough and worked on her book. I think she used some different papers really for her book, but the reason why I made this book to begin with was she had asked me that she wanted to see a photo album that was 10 by 10 with 6 hinges on it, and oh goodness gracious, did you see what I just did? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Actually, this is the right way, this one. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to leave this for right now. Oh my goodness, see, I shouldn't talk and put paper down at the same time. This one is actually going the wrong way, and I was putting it that way because of the way I was looking at the peach. But see, our butterfly's upside down, but they could be flying down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait, and I'm going to see if I have another piece of this paper. It just won't come up, or I will have to, I don't know if I have more of this, so I'm going to wait. And I don't want to mess up what I have down already, and you know, that's one of those things that truly you and I are going to be the only ones that probably really even notice that it's different. So I'm going to put this paper down and inside our pockets. And I may have to cut off the other one. I have heard from some people that they use something called undo, but I think that's just for the score tape. I don't think you can use that with the art glitter glue. I've never used it, so which I probably should have a gallon of it, but I've never used it, so you'll have to let me know if you've used it and if it's worked good for you. I probably should use it quite frequently. All right, now let's just check the matting on this one. Yes, let's take a little bit off that. All right. Cut that side off. We should be good. See, there it is on the back of there. But I don't know if I have any more of those trim edges left. I'll have to look. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I hope that I've been good entertainment for you today with all my foibles. All right, so we have our pockets down like that. The next thing that I want to do, because I have it all set and ready to go, is this mat. And the mat for this is 9 by 8, I believe. Oh no, 9 by 7 and 3/4. So then our paper is 7 5/8 by 8 7/8. So we're going to put that down onto here, and that matches well. But what I did on this is I did round the corners. So I'm going to take this and we'll round these corners, and then we will round the corners of our pattern paper. Sometimes I do the rounding on the corners only because I think that they slide easier into the pockets, but I kind of am a squared off person. I like things, they don't have to be perfectly aligned, as you can see, but I do like them to, I like my pages to be more squared off than edges rounded. I do it on some, but other people use a lot more edging and trims on their pages than I normally do. Again, it's just really your personal preference, because you can go along and do that on all of your pages if it's something that you enjoy. All right. And on the top of this mat, I also put a tuck spot here. And the reason why is because I had something that ended up sticking in the corner of my mat. So you can add something to the top, or I'm actually just going to leave it plain for today. And then again, I'll go back and do this, the picture mats on the back when we're done. This is just something that you can just do some blocking with your paper. Just remember to round the corners of your photo mats or your patterned paper. This, I took a piece of the ephemera, or the, the chipboard ephemera, and I put it on top of a complimentary piece of navy blue cardstock, the artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations, and pop that up a little bit. And you could pop it up a little bit more. I just didn't want too much bulk to the back of that. So that's what our mat will look like. So let's get this down. This front door closure, or the mat with the angled pockets, actually this book is the first time that I've done that, so I expected it to probably be a little bit off or not quite perfect, because first time you try something, it, you know, any number of things can be a little bit off. So sometimes I don't understand how I can get these angles so off. And then I watch other crafters and they are like, oh, cut the paper and it's just spot on matted and no issues whatsoever. Well, that'll be good enough. Let me just so we have our mat that goes into our pockets right here, and that goes down. So we'll see how that goes. May not even notice that. I may do something up in the corner or something up along here as well when we're done, but I'll wait and see what hits my fancy later on. Just seeing that these are slightly, see the door. My other one was perfect. This one is not perfect. Goodness gracious. Okay. I'm not going to worry about that any longer. What I want to do is take some other paper then. We could take the bigger fruit pages, or we could take the smaller fruit pages, whatever you enjoy. I think I'm actually going to use the smaller fruit patterned paper. There's actually two, I believe, that one that has some sayings on it and one that is just the fruit. And goodness gracious, here we go with my scraps. That's the bigger piece, but I'm going to leave this out just in case. Got some cut-aparts. Ah, I do have another piece. So I may end up cutting this and fixing. Oh, here it is, right here. This is the one I wanted. Oh, my favorite. This is my favorite paper. So otherwise, I don't know. This has a little bit more purple in it, and that's really what I wanted. I think I'm going to use it just because I want to. So what I do is I put the paper in, match it up to the edge, and then I mark off. And again, the pencil is light enough that can easily be seen. So I'm going to do this one, and what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to cut it all the way across. If I can see my pencil mark. Again, it's one of those things, you lose the mark once you get to the cutter. Here we go. So I'm going to do the cut all the way across so that I have the same height for both pockets. Oh my gosh. the way the sun moves in my reflection from my window. There we go. And that it just makes that disappear. So we'll match that up and cut that across. And then we'll cut our other piece from that. So I'm going to take this and just, that looks good. I'm going to put that in, and I'm actually going to draw that line a little bit darker because I'm just going to cut to the inside of it, so it's not going to be seen. Now, if the angle is wrong on your patterned paper, or you don't like the way the angle goes, you need to take additional cuts from the bottom of your patterned paper, so along this bottom, to pull this down further. You don't want to cut across the angle, or if you need to have a better fit here, you cut to this side. Hope that makes sense. So I need just a little bit more. This bottom is fine, but this edge here, I need to cut a little bit off. So I'm going to cut from this side, not on my angled side. There we go. I think that's pretty good. What's your favorite piece of the Fruit and Flora? What pattern paper is your favorite? I'd like to hear that. I just love the purples and the, or I should say plum. I always call it purple, but I really mean plum. The plum and the green together, they're just, the tones are absolutely wonderful. So then we're going to take this other piece, and I'm just going to do the other side this way. And I know the height is right, but I am going to go along here, and I'm going to cut here and mark that, and hopefully I can see those lines. So the top is good. So what I'm going to cut down this side first so that I get a better piece of leftover papers. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but see how I'm cutting a little bit to the inside. This is probably a little more than what I probably should have cut, but it happens. So then let's go to the angle, and I'll be careful with that cut. So I've got that out just a little bit. And again, I don't know if you can see the pencil mark, but it's right along there. So hopefully, let's dry fit it. Hopefully we are going to be good to go. And actually, I think I need to cut just a slight bit off of the bottom on this one. Just a 1/16 of an inch, not much more than that. Oops, I think that looks good. Awesome. All right, we'll get this in. I have another page that I've got all set to go, but I know this has got to be going much longer than what I normally do. So I'm going to check the time once we get this done, and let's see where we're at with time. And I will get that other page up and going. So that's the waterfall page with the envelopes. So I'm going to look at that. All right, so we've got that done, and we're going to put our mat into here, and we've got, I pulled that up. I guess I shouldn't worry about it so much though, because I've got another piece I think I'm going to run across there. All right, so we've got those pages done. The only thing that really is left to do is to put that sticker inside here. And again, I'll cut that out, fussy cut it out, and get that ready to put on, and show you what I did with that. So, but otherwise, I'll come back today if this video isn't too long. If it's too long, then I will be putting it together with another page or two. Thank you so much.